of Green Biz, Pete May. And I thank you for joining me here at Sidebar.
Good to be here,
I've
Heather.
been so lonely.
Yeah.
I mentioned to our
You've
virtual...
been with the person that can't talk
I
up here,
know.
right? John Davies?
Yes, my co-host has
Yeah.
laryngitis. He's sadly not here.
Right.
But I mentioned before to our virtual listeners that this is the We Wish You Were Here segment of the program.
Yeah, right.
Because there's this great plenary stuff that we're live streaming and archiving on our site and elsewhere. But there's so much happening here in person behind the scenes, and I'm hoping you can share a little bit of that with our viewers.
Yeah, it's we're really excited about the event this year. Went up, gosh, we're 1,200 people here. So
and how big of a growth is that?
Make sure I have my talking point right, but call it 20-25% over last year. So it's pretty sizable, given that this is where we had it last year, and I think it's grown in a number of ways. We're seeing a lot of our corporate partners are bringing bigger delegations.
Yep.
So maybe before where they brought to the event a sustainability or a CSR person, now they're bringing supply chain and operations and energy management. So it's great to see that expansion by just companies bringing more people, and then new companies in the room, new organizations. So that's really been great. So it's Joel and I, as co-founders of GreenBiz, we look out and we often see a lot of friends, people that have been at our events for years. But what's really gratifying is how that circle has grown and so many new entrants. So that's really great, and great to see a bigger group here.
Okay, so I want to hit on a couple of this, like I said, behind the scenes things. Actually, not behind the scenes for you if you're here, but the Summit Series. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the summits. Summits are these events we do. They're VIP events, not to have VIP events, but because we want to have a gated discussion that comes to deals with a finite set of issues, and we have the right people in the room. So we did 2 of those this year, continuing on tradition we've had. So I think for our 3rd year, we've done a supply chain summit, and that was a really great discussion. And then this year we added on one called Greenfin, which is about kind of melding the interest and trying to align the language on ESG between asset managers and institutional investors, who are not traditionally a group that comes to GreenBiz, with sustainability people and also finance people in corporations. So it's a fascinating discussion because we find that's really a hot button. More and more companies are getting pressed from investors on ESG issues. So that was a great discussion that included a couple of the largest funds in the country, major banks that were our partners on that, and our corporate partners that are struggling with this, like how do you report on what you're doing, and how do you meld things like sustainability reports with traditional financial reports?
So what else were you, I mean, you've been all over the place.
Yeah, right,
We've all been running around here. So tell me a couple of your favorite moments or core highlights from the event.
Gosh, there's so many things. But last night, shout out to ASU, which is our great partner here. And every GreenBiz, they do a gala dinner. We had that last night. It was outdoors at the El Choro, and which is a beautiful hacienda. And they had a very small and elegant ceremony. But anyway, it was a great way we had our guests from the event came there, and it was just great to be also in February to be outdoors, seeing a sublime sunset over Camelback Mountain. So anyway, that's what, if you're joining in virtually with us next year, see if you can make it, because we're back we're at a different hotel next year, and it's one that faces right up to Camelback Mountain. It's really sublimely beautiful.
I was going to bring that up. I mean, we're not even done with this event, of course, but
right.
Any sort of thoughts in your head about what you mentioned the Greenfin thing before. I believe we would definitely have a core focus on that next year.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on themes that you see as being really important from this conference?
Well, I think we'll continue to expand. For us, one key theme is just depth. And one thing we did this year is, we had all of our great plenary discussions. We had more depth in our 8 tracks than we ever had before tracks like purpose, energy landscape, I know I received a shout out from a couple partners that said, you know, the ESG and finance track had much more depth than it had in past years. So with those tracks, it's basically giving attendees an option to have deep dive, hour-long sessions on particular topics. So it's a great balance. We want to have the inspirational stuff main stage, but providing that depth, and I think you'll see more of that next year, and also more ways in which we can appeal to, you know, it's again, the sustainability groups are now bringing people that do sustainability but don't have it in their job title. So expanding that and bringing more supply chain people, more operations, energy management, these adjacent topics, it's really exciting.
So circular economy was a big theme on stage, behind the scenes as well.
Sure.
So I think, you know, we're barely pausing here.
Right. Can we get through this event first?
I know,
right?
but we do have another amazing event that we're starting to program. You want to tell us a little bit about Circularity?
Yeah, so we think this is going to be, you know, our 3 events, GreenBiz here, really the summit for the sustainability community, Verge to grow the clean economy, that's our event in October, and then we're adding to that this year, for the first time doing a large-scale event around circular economy, when we want to take it from circular economy from a buzzword to a real market in North America. There's been more activity around circular in Europe, but it's a hot topic. It's driven by, there's regulatory concern about plastics, consumers driving that. So anyway, that'll be June 18th to the 20th in Minneapolis. So that's next up, right after. We're going to rest for a day or two after this, and
maybe,
then that's next up, right?
Actually I can't tell you how many people have asked me about that conference. It's been quite amazing here.
Yeah, and this morning we did a breakfast kind of with some of our key stakeholders, just bringing them more into our thinking around the event. So yeah, that's really exciting once we get past GreenBiz. Yeah. Anything
you're going to do differently or think about differently after this conference, like something that you learned here that was particularly impactful in your head?
Oh, so many different things, but I think looping back to Greenfin, I know I had one of our partners this morning said the drumbeat of requests, ESG requests from the investor community is really picking up. So I think if I had to pick out a singular topic, to me that's interesting is just this whole, the investor interest and this idea of increasing awareness of sustainability as a risk issue, and when that becomes a risk issue, it starts to enter into financial documents, and that's probably the single thing I picked up on, along with circular, of course.
All right. Well, thanks for keeping me company here
at Sidebar.
Thank you,
Heather. Yeah, and I'm glad you got somebody with a real voice.
I do, yes.
I hope we get John back at some point.
We will have John back, and happy birthday, John, again. And meanwhile, we are going back to the main stage.